Thank you very much. The ranking member, Ms. Bonamici of Oregon, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Mote, we spoke about the Trump administration's plans to dismantle and abolish the Department of Education and what that would mean to not only the K-12 system, but institutes of higher education, informed policymaking, civil rights, et cetera. So could you summarize what, in your opinion, from your work as a technologist, what would dismantling the Department of Education mean for students and our locally driven public education system, especially regarding the use of AI in K-12 schools? And then I want to have time for another question, too, about professional development.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think we have to recognize that, as you shared in your opening statements, conversations about curriculum, conversations about what's happening in the classroom are inherently a local context. But the Department of Education provides critical support to districts across this country and resources, particularly around education technology. There are over 13,000 public school districts in this country. Not all of them can have a Mr. Chisholm who builds his own AI server. They need cybersecurity expertise. They need interoperability and privacy expertise. They need the ability to pick up the phone and call someone at the Office of Civil Rights and ask questions about whether or not the use of this tool is within the bounds of the law. We can't expect that expertise and capacity to be built in every school district in this country. And so if we remove those supports, if we remove the critical research and development function about what works for whom and under what conditions at the U.S. Department of Education, I worry that local schools and districts won't actually be empowered to make the decisions that they should be making about what's taught, what tools, and how we support educators and students throughout this country.
Thank you, and I'm sure everyone here recognizes the importance of professional development, and educators have various levels of skills when it comes to technology. So I want to ask you, you noted in your testimony at one point that there was a risk of over-reliance on AI that may in fact diminish critical thinking and creative problem solving. I also want to just acknowledge Dr. Durbin said something about the importance of the most sought after skills: communication, critical thinking, problem solving, teamwork. So how would professional development, how does that make a difference, and how would it present new opportunities for educators? How can it inform educators about the risks of AI, and how does the elimination of the Office of Educational Technology and cuts to these professional development programs affect opportunities for teachers who are using or want to use more AI?
So I'm going to introduce a critical concept, I hope, to this committee called humans in the loop in terms of technology. This is the idea that when an IEP is generated by AI, there's still a special education teacher or a special education coordinator who's looking at that IEP and saying, does this match the student that I see in front of me? AI is never going to replace the fundamental human enterprise that is education. So how do we equip every teacher with the necessary literacy skills to work alongside this technology, to be stewards of minor data, to protect data privacy and security, to choose the right tools, and to stay engaged in this technology? We can only do that if we support AI literacy and professional development for educators throughout this country. Let's be honest, when I was running my school, I had a lot on my plate. Frankly, teachers have more on their plate today than they did when I was running my school in Brooklyn. There are challenges with youth mental health. There's ways to meet the workforce demands. There's questions from parents. There's increased need to close academic achievement gaps. We need to be able to support educators and not just add another thing to their plate. They need the learning, they need the skills, and they need the understanding of this technology if we expect them to adopt it for the efficiencies that we're talking about here today, the personalization, but also the ability to move forward.
Thank you, and you mentioned data security and privacy, key issues. I also serve on the Committee on Science, Space, and Technology, and was a member of the bipartisan AI task force. And I hope everybody in this building is listening to all of the testimony here today, where everyone is emphasizing the importance of data security and privacy, and I hope that we can get that done on a bipartisan basis. I just, in my remaining few seconds, I want to ask Dr. Raphael Behr, you talked about the importance of federal research. Where have you seen the most beneficial research being done when it comes to artificial intelligence and education?
I think the role of federal research is absolutely critical. Federal research helps to signal what is important. It provides at scale an ability to look at whether things are truly relevant, under what conditions they're working, and whether or not we're getting the kind of return on investment that we would expect from that level
And
of
where are
research.
you seeing that research? Where the beneficial research, what agencies have been doing that?
What agencies at the federal level
Yes.
are doing that? I think you have a number of different agencies on the federal level who've been doing strong research. I think for states, it's about the signaling that the federal government does in putting out that research and being able to stand behind that research.
Thank you. And as I yield back, Mr. Chairman, when it comes to artificial intelligence, I always have 5 hours of questions, and I only give 5 minutes. So. Thank you.